Thanks so much for sharing your garden with us. And now we're joined by Sandra Killough from Bonnie's Greenhouse in Waco, Texas. And welcome to Central Texas Gardener.
Thank you.
It's a real pleasure to have you here. Now, I want to start off by talking about Bonnie's Greenhouse because I understand from folks in the Waco area that this has been a landmark for quite some time.
True. It's 29 years old. Bonnie Murphy, a wonderful, sweet lady, started it by digging cannas and iris and daylilies out of her front yard and selling them. Mm-hmm. And then it's evolved into this wonderful 1 acre garden of roses and annuals and perennials and Texas natives. And I bought it 3 years ago after working for her for 20 years.
Okay, so this is, for you, I bet, kind of a dream come true in a way.
It is. I've always loved this place.
Okay, and any specialties? You know, it started off with irises and daylilies and things like that?
And we still do those, but antique roses are one of our big specialties, and the old garden varieties, herbs, perennials, antique, well, I said antique roses,
right.
The Texas natives, sedums, unusual and unique plants.
Okay, and you, like many other folks out there, have discovered that garden centers should look like gardens.
Yes, yeah, because most everything we sell is planted there. And there's gardens for shade that we've got stuff planted in. There's gardens for sun, there's herb gardens, native gardens.
Right, so people can come in and get a sense of what they can do with all the wonderful plants that you have to offer.
Yes, yes.
And you do lots of different kind of specialty container things, and we're going to show those off as we go through the program today. In fact, why don't we go ahead and get started and take a look at some of the things that you've created for us. Now, we have a pot over here filled with bright summer annuals. This is, and to me, this looks like summer already.
Yes, we do a lot of the mixed gardens for sun or shade, and this one's for sun, and we can do perennials or annuals. This one's mostly annuals. I
look in this, and I see my first garden. I see marigolds and ageratum and zinnias. These are the plants that were in my very first garden when I was a child, and this is just terrific. You also have some cosmos and other things in there.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of thing that you will create for folks?
Yes, yes. We do a lot of special orders.
Okay, great.
Especially for Mother's Day.
I could see that would be a beautiful living flower arrangement for Mother's Day. Now, you mentioned antique roses, and you brought a couple of different varieties to show off. The first one is a blush Noisette, and this one, I tell you, the fragrance is amazing.
It is. It is. It's very fragrant and blooms all summer.
Tell me a little bit about the growing conditions for this one.
Well, full sun, definitely. They need full sun and be watered for the first several years, get them established and fertilized, and they're pretty happy and easy to grow. Yeah,
and when this one, to me, looks like it'd be a perfect container plant.
It is a great container plant. Small, but will fill out great.
So it doesn't really get a whole lot bigger than this. To me, it looks maybe about 4 feet tall.
About 4 foot tall.
Yeah. Well, blush Noisette is again the name, and I love the real pale color and the fragrance on it intense. The next one is called Cadenza, and I understand this one was often mistaken for another.
Yes, it used to be called Annie's Red.
Annie's Red, okay.
And they actually found the true name of it, and it's Cadenza.
Okay, and obviously the same kind of growing conditions, full sun. This one looks like it gets a little strappier. Yeah,
it's more of an arching type rose, real beautiful cupped flowers, dark red.
Beautiful form on the flower, and a little bit of a longer stem, something obviously that would make a beautiful cut flower.
Yes, definitely a good cut flower.
Yeah, and so Cadenza is another one of these old-fashioned forms that people should be on the lookout for, and just a terrific thing. And again, these would all be planted out in your nursery up in Waco.
They're all in the gardens. Many more.
Okay. Now, one thing that you do as well is little groupings of things in special kinds of containers that you've created yourselves. This weathered kind of barnwood kind of look here, which is really beautiful. And this one, you have all sorts of edible herbs, right?
Yes, and we do all kinds of herbs. We do perennials. We do some shade gardens in them, and especially great for people in small gardens in apartments and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned a shade garden or an herb garden, and for all intents and purposes, that's what we have here, a garden in a box.
Garden in a box, yeah. Great patio containers also.
And this is one that you could grow out in a sunny spot with all these herbs in it.
Full sun, full sun.
And just sample as you go through and enjoy them all.
Yeah, and all those are edible, and all they have to do is use them and water them and fertilize them. That's it.
Okay. Well, it looks terrific, all blended together like that. The basil, the purpley color there with all the other fresh greens. It's just terrific. Now, one thing I've noted in the past few years here in Austin is that there's a lot of interest in succulents. And here's another sample of your beautifully crafted little boxes. And this one has all different sedums in it.
Yeah, and it'll go on forever. Most of these are all perennial and will take our Central Texas weather, so you could leave it outside year-round.
Yeah, and for low care, I mean, how often would you water? And I'm thinking with the boxes, the drainage is not. You don't have. Do you have drainage holes in here?
No, but it's old enough that it just kind of seeps through.
Right, that's what I was thinking. But you could
definitely put some in there.
Now, so how often do you water?
Maybe about once a week in our hot summer sun.
Okay,
yeah.
So for the succulents.
For the succulents,
now, on the herbs, probably daily,
yeah,
right?
Daily, yeah, definitely.
And speaking of herbs, here's another one of the, I think this looks so cool together. This is a thyme, right?
It's thyme. It's orange thyme. I actually grew it from seed.
Ooh, okay.
And it's
yes,
very fragrant, and it's evergreen all winter, and you can use it, even leave it outside in the winter, and it's great.
Okay. So lots of different ideas for these little box gardens, and I do love the idea of garden in a box, or basket.
Yes.
It's the case may be. And we have here, I'm going to pull this down. I just think that we want to take a closer look at this. Lots of different, and you specialize in, you said, unusual plants, and there's some unusual herbs here. Like, now tell me this one.
The Cuban oregano.
Okay. Now, to me, it almost looks like a coleus.
It does. It's big leaf. It's really pretty in the full sun, and you can just use it as an ornamental. And the same with the santolinas.
The fragrance is wonderful too.
The santolinas over there, the same thing.
Yeah. So people can be on the lookout for herbs, and you have a little eucalyptus here and santolinas. Lots of cool different things that people can use successfully in the hot Texas summers. Because I know up there in Waco you have the same problem we have down here, that summer that goes on for 6 months, Yeah,
last year was pretty tough.
Yeah.
Hopefully this year will be better.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed on that front. Right next to you, a variety of different ornamentals and lots of cool things there, too.
This is just a few things we specially in, like the Rex begonias. We do a lot of the angel wing and the Rex begonias.
I love begonias, and I think they're kind of underutilized now. I don't know why people bypass them, because they're actually pretty xeric plants.
They're real easy to grow, and the neat thing about them is you can grow them all summer in a shady backyard on a patio, and then in the wintertime you can bring them in the house and have a beautiful house plant.
Yeah.
And some color.
Well, that's the Rex, and you mentioned the angel wings. I love them all.
Yeah.
I just think they're terrific, in hanging baskets especially.
And we have many varieties.
Well, that's a real striking one that you have there, and then mixed in with it, you have a lot of other tough little annuals, right?
Yeah, like the cupheas, the Batface I love for the full sun, and the hummingbirds it's one of their favorite plants. And it blooms all summer in our Texas heat. Right. It did last year.
Well, it's a striking looking plant, and I think that's a kid's plant. It's great for telling stories with children.
Yeah. And I've got a gardenia in here also. I didn't tell you about that.
Oh, no.
I like plants with history, and that's one that was propagated from my mother-in-law's gardenia.
Oh, okay. So the pass along tradition continues at Bonnie's greenhouse.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so real briefly, tell people where in Waco you're located.
We're at 5198 Orchard Lane.
Okay.
Right off of Loop 340. And it's sort of hard to find the first time, but after that, it's real easy.
Okay, so you're keeping the tradition alive in Waco, Texas. It's Bonnie's Greenhouse, and you have a presence on the web as well.
Yes, bonniesgreenhouse.com.
All right. Well, I know that people will enjoy going out, strolling the gardens, maybe running afoul of the guinea hens. I understand you have a flock of those on hand.
Flock of guinea hens.
Doing their work.
Doing their work, yes.
Keeping their organic garden.
Yes, yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much again, Sandra Killough, for coming down from Waco to be our guest on Central Texas Gardener. Coming up next is our friend Daphne Richards.